In a small, quiet town nestled between rolling hills and endless fields of corn, there was a middle school that looked like any other. Its walls were painted a faded yellow, the lockers squeaked when opened, and the classrooms smelled faintly of chalk dust and old textbooks. It wasn't an extraordinary place, but it was home to 12-year-old Clara Carter, a girl who often felt invisible among her peers. Clara wasn't one of those kids who stood out in the crowd. She didn't have the loudest laugh, the flashiest clothes, or the most daring stories to share at lunchtime. But what she lacked in boldness, she made up for in curiosity. Her mind was always racing with questions about how things worked, especially when it came to space. She'd spend hours staring out her bedroom window at night, tracing constellations with her finger, and imagining herself floating among the stars. And while most of her classmates thought rockets and planets were boring, Clara couldn't get enough of them. Her fascination with space wasn't random. It came from her mom. Dr. Evelyn Carter, Clara's mother, worked at NASA. That wasn't just some exaggerated claim Clara made to sound cool. It was true. Evelyn was an astrophysicist who spent her days working on groundbreaking projects involving satellites, telescopes, and data collected from faraway galaxies. To Clara, her mom was a real-life superhero, someone who helped unlock the mysteries of the universe. But to everyone else, this fact seemed too incredible to believe. One crisp autumn morning during third-period science class, Mr. Thompson, the teacher, was explaining the basics of astronomy. He wrote words like galaxy, orbit, and solar system on the whiteboard, his voice steady and monotone. Most of the students were barely paying attention. Some doodled in their notebooks, others whispered jokes under their breath, and a few simply stared blankly ahead, counting down the minutes until recess. But Clara sat upright in her chair, hanging on to every word. When Mr. Thompson mentioned the Hubble Space Telescope, her hand shot up into the air without hesitation. "Yes, Clara," he said, calling on her after a brief pause. "My mom works at NASA," Clara announced proudly, her cheeks flushing pink as all eyes turned toward her. For a moment, the room went silent. Then snickers broke out. One boy covered his mouth to stifle a laugh while another muttered something under his breath that sounded suspiciously like, "Yeah, right." Even the girls sitting nearby exchanged skeptical glances, their eyebrows raised high. Mr. Thompson tried to diffuse the situation with a polite smile. "That's quite impressive, Clara," he said gently, though his tone suggested he wasn't entirely convinced either. The laughter grew louder, filling the classroom with mocking giggles. Someone even joked, "What does your mom do, sell snacks at the gift shop?" Clara felt her face burn hotter than ever before. She wanted to shrink into her seat and disappear completely. She knew her mom's job was unusual, maybe even hard to believe, but she hadn't expected this kind of reaction. Why didn't anyone take her seriously? Didn't they know how amazing her mom really was? As the bell rang, signaling the end of class, Clara gathered her books quickly, avoiding eye contact with anyone. She hurried out of the room, her heart heavy with embarrassment. In the hallway, she overheard two girls talking about her. "Can you believe she actually said that?" one of them whispered. "Like, does she think we're stupid or something?" Tears welled up in Clara's eyes, but she blinked them back fiercely. She hated feeling so small, so insignificant. All she had done was tell the truth. Why did no one believe her? When she got home later that afternoon, Clara slumped onto the couch, clutching her backpack tightly. Her mom walked in from the kitchen, carrying a mug of tea. "Hey, sweetheart," Evelyn said warmly, noticing the defeated look on her daughter's face. "You okay?" Clara hesitated for a moment, then blurted out everything that had happened at school. "They laughed at me, Mom," she said, her voice trembling. "They didn't believe me when I told them you work at NASA." Evelyn set her mug down on the coffee table and sat beside Clara, wrapping an arm around her shoulders. "Oh, honey," she said softly. "I'm sorry you had to go through that. But let me tell you something. You don't need anyone else's approval to know how special you are. What matters is that you know the truth," Clara sniffled, wiping her nose with the sleeve of her sweater. "But why don't they believe me?" "You do work at NASA," Evelyn chuckled lightly, shaking her head. "People sometimes find it hard. to believe things that seem bigger than life. When I first started working at NASA, plenty of people doubted me too. They thought I couldn't handle the pressure or solve complex problems because I was young, or because I'm a woman. But guess what? I proved them wrong. Clara looked up at her mom, intrigued. How did you do that? Well, Evelyn began, leaning back against the couch. It wasn't easy. There were times when I felt like giving up, like maybe everyone else was right and I didn't belong there. But I kept reminding myself why I loved what I did. Every time I looked at a star map or analyzed satellite images, I remembered how much joy it brought me. And slowly people started seeing my passion and my results. That's when they stopped laughing and started listening. Clara listened intently, her sadness gradually giving way to admiration. Her mom wasn't just smart and talented, she was brave. She faced challenges head-on and refused to let anyone bring her down. Maybe Clara could learn to do the same. Mom, Clara said finally, her voice steadier now. What if I told the class more about what you do? Would that help them understand? Evelyn smiled, her eyes twinkling with pride. That's a great idea, Clara. Sometimes showing people the truth is the best way to change their minds. Let's figure out how we can make that happen. For the rest of the evening, Clara and her mom brainstormed ideas. They talked about sharing photos, videos, and even bringing Evelyn herself to the school someday. As they planned, Clara felt a flicker of hope reignite within her. Maybe this wasn't the end of the story. It could be the beginning of something much bigger. Little did she know, her classmates were in for a surprise they'd never forget. That night, as Clara lay in bed staring at the ceiling, she couldn't stop thinking about her mom's words. Sometimes people don't believe what they can't see, Evelyn had said. It made sense, but it also made Clara feel frustrated. Why should she have to prove something that was already true? Still, deep down, she knew her mom was right. If her classmates didn't believe her now, maybe showing them would change their minds. The next morning, Clara woke up determined. She decided to ask her mom more about her work so she could share it with her class later. Over breakfast, Evelyn noticed her daughter's eagerness and smiled. "What's on your mind, kiddo?" she asked, spreading jam on a slice of toast. "I want to tell everyone exactly what you do," Clara replied. "Not just that you work at NASA, but everything. Like how you help design those satellites that track weather patterns or whatever. Maybe if I explain it better, they'll understand." Evelyn nodded thoughtfully, taking a sip of her coffee. "Well, let me start by telling you a little story," she said. "When I first joined NASA, I wasn't designing satellites or anything glamorous like that. I started as an intern, working long hours in front of a computer, analyzing data no one else wanted to look at. Some days it felt like I was doing the same thing over and over again, plotting graphs, running simulations, checking numbers. It wasn't exciting, but it mattered." Clara tilted her head, curious. "Why did you keep going if it wasn't fun?" "Because I believed in the bigger picture," Evelyn explained. "Every piece of data I analyzed contributed to something greater. For example, some of the information I worked on helped predict hurricanes before they hit land. That meant families had more time to prepare and stay safe. Knowing my work saved lives. That's what kept me going. Even when things got tough." Clara's eyes widened. "Wow, I never thought about it like that." "There's more," Evelyn continued. "After a few years, I moved into satellite technology. Do you remember when we watched that rocket launch together last summer?" Clara nodded enthusiastically. She remembered sitting in their backyard late at night, wrapped in blankets as they gazed up at the sky. They'd watched a live stream of a rocket soaring into space, its fiery tail glowing against the dark horizon. It had been magical. "That rocket carried a satellite I helped build," Evelyn revealed. "It's called Earth-1, and its job is to monitor changes in our planet's atmosphere. It collects data on greenhouse gases, deforestation, and rising sea levels. Scientists use that information to figure out ways to protect Earth for future generations." Clara gasped. "You built a satellite? That's insane." Evelyn chuckled. "I didn't build it all by myself, of course. It takes hundreds of people working together to make something like that happen. But yes, I played a part in it. And every time I see pictures of it orbiting Earth, I feel proud knowing I helped create something that makes a difference. As they finished breakfast, Clara peppered her mom with questions. What did the control room at NASA look like? How many languages did her team speak? Did astronauts really eat freeze-dried ice cream? Evelyn answered each question patiently, adding funny anecdotes along the way. By the time they were done, Clara felt like she had enough material to impress her entire class. But there was still one problem. How could she convince her teacher to let her talk about it? Mr. Thompson seemed nice enough, but he hadn't exactly taken her seriously the first time. Clara decided to approach him during lunch break. Walking into the classroom, she found Mr. Thompson grading papers at his desk. He looked up when he heard her footsteps. "Clara, is everything okay?" "Yes, Mr. Thompson," she said nervously, twisting the strap of her backpack in her hands. "I wanted to talk to you about what happened yesterday, about my mom working at NASA." Mr. Thompson sighed, setting his pen down. "Clara, I'm sorry if the other students laughed. Sometimes kids don't know how to react when they hear something surprising." "It's not just that," Clara blurted out. "I want to show them proof. My mom has pictures and videos of her projects. She even helped build a satellite. Can I bring them in and present them to the class?" Mr. Thompson raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "That sounds fascinating, Clara, but are you sure your mom would be okay with that?" "She already said yes," Clara exclaimed, grinning. "Please, Mr. Thompson, it'll only take 10 minutes, and I promise it'll be interesting." After a moment of consideration, Mr. Thompson nodded. "All right, Clara, you can give your presentation tomorrow. Just make sure you're prepared. It's important to back up your claims with solid evidence." Relieved and excited, Clara thanked him and ran home to tell her mom the good news. Together, they spent the afternoon gathering materials for the presentation. Evelyn printed out high-resolution images of the Earth-1 satellite, graphs showing climate data collected over the years, and even a photo of herself standing next to a massive rocket at the Kennedy Space Center. She also recorded a short video, explaining her role in the project, hoping it would add a personal touch. As evening fell, Clara rehearsed her speech in front of her mom. At first, she stumbled over technical terms like spectrometer and thermal imaging, but Evelyn encouraged her to simplify the language. "Just focus on the big ideas," she advised. "Tell them why this matters, not just for science, but for the world." By the time Clara went to bed, she felt confident. She imagined her classmates' jaws dropping as she showed them the photos and videos. Finally, they'd see that her mom wasn't just someone who worked at NASA. She was a brilliant scientist making history. The next morning, Clara arrived at school early, clutching a folder filled with her mom's materials. As her classmates filed into the classroom, she could feel their curious glances. A few whispered jokes about her presentation, but Clara ignored them. She was ready. When Mr. Thompson called her to the front of the room, Clara took a deep breath and began. "Hi everyone, yesterday I told you that my mom works at NASA and some of you didn't believe me. So today I'm going to show you exactly what she does and why it's so important." She handed out copies of the satellite images and turned on the projector. The screen lit up with a breathtaking view of Earth from space, swirling clouds, and vibrant continents clearly visible. Gasps rippled through the room. "This is a picture taken by the Earth-1 satellite," Clara explained. "My mom helped design it. Its job is to study our planet's atmosphere and help scientists understand climate change. Here's another graph showing how much carbon dioxide levels have increased over the past 50 years. This kind of information helps us find solutions to protect the environment." Her classmates leaned forward, captivated. Even the boy who had joked about the gift shop raised his hand to ask a question. "Does your mom ever get to meet astronauts?" he asked. Clara grinned. "Actually, yes. She sometimes works with them to test equipment before it goes into space. And here's a video where she talks about her job." She pressed play, and Evelyn appeared on the screen, speaking directly to the camera. "Hi, I'm Dr. Evelyn Carter, and I'm an astrophysicist at NASA." Her calm, confident voice filled the room. and Clara felt a surge of pride watching her mom explain complex concepts in a way anyone could understand. By the end of the presentation, the mood in the classroom had completely shifted. Instead of mocking laughter, there was genuine awe. One girl raised her hand shyly. "Clara, I'm sorry we laughed at you before. Your mom is amazing." Clara smiled, feeling a weight lift off her shoulders. For the first time, she realized that sharing her truth wasn't just about proving others wrong. It was about inspiring them to dream bigger. And as she returned to her seat, she knew this was only the beginning of her own journey among the stars. The days following Clara's presentation passed quickly, and life at school returned to its usual rhythm. Her classmates still whispered about her mom's work, but this time, it was with admiration rather than disbelief. Clara noticed that the same boy who had joked about the NASA gift shop now approached her during lunch to ask if she thought astronauts ever got scared in space. Even the girls who had rolled their eyes before invited her to sit with them, eager to hear more stories about her mom's adventures. But as much as things had improved, Clara couldn't shake a lingering thought. While her classmates now believed her, they hadn't truly met her mom. They'd only seen pictures and videos, second-hand glimpses of someone extraordinary. Clara wanted them to experience Evelyn's brilliance firsthand. She wanted them to feel the same awe she felt every day growing up with a mom who worked at NASA. One evening, as Clara helped her mom organize papers from her latest project, she decided to broach the idea. "Mom," she began hesitantly, "do you think you could come to my school sometime? Like, as a guest speaker?" Evelyn looked up from her laptop, surprised. "A guest speaker for your class?" Clara nodded, her voice growing more confident. "Yeah, you're always saying how important it is to inspire kids about science. And my teacher, Mr. Thompson, loves having visitors talk to us. I bet he'd say yes if you came." Evelyn smiled softly, leaning back in her chair. "That's a sweet idea, Clara, but are you sure you want me to do that? It might be a lot of pressure for you." "No, it wouldn't," Clara insisted. "You're amazing, Mom. If people see how passionate you are, they'll understand why I'm so proud of you. Plus," she hesitated, then added shyly, "I think it would mean a lot to me, too." Evelyn's expression softened. She reached out and squeezed Clara's hand. "All right, sweetheart. Let's make it happen." The next morning, Clara marched into Mr. Thompson's classroom before the first bell rang. "Mr. Thompson," she said, trying to sound casual despite her racing heart, "what if my mom came to speak to the whole school, not just our class, everyone, Mr. Thompson raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "Your mom? As in, the NASA scientist?" Clara nodded eagerly. "Yes, she's super cool, and she talks about space in a way that anyone can understand. I promise everyone will love it." After a moment of thought, Mr. Thompson agreed. He promised to discuss the idea with the principal and set a date for the visit. By the end of the week, the announcement was made. Dr. Evelyn Carter, astrophysicist, at NASA would be speaking at an all-school assembly the following Friday. Word spread like wildfire. Students buzzed with excitement, speculating about what Evelyn might say. Would she bring real pieces of meteorites? Could she show them actual footage from space? Some even joked that maybe she'd bring an astronaut along with her, though Clara gently reminded them that wasn't likely. The anticipation built steadily throughout the week, and by the time Friday arrived, the entire school was abuzz with energy. On the morning of the assembly, Clara woke up early, her stomach fluttering. With nerves, she dressed carefully, choosing her favorite sweater, a deep blue one dotted with tiny white stars, and double-checked that everything was ready. When she walked into the kitchen, she found her mom already dressed in a sleek navy blazer and tailored slacks, looking every bit the professional scientist she was. "Ready for today?" Evelyn asked, giving Clara a reassuring smile. "I think so," Clara replied, though her voice wavered slightly. "What if they don't like it?" "They will," Evelyn said firmly. "People connect with passion, Clara. Just focus on sharing. Yours and everything else will fall into place." When they arrived at the school auditorium, Clara was stunned by the turnout. Nearly every seat was filled, not just with students but also teachers and even a few parents who had heard about the event. The stage was set with a large screen for presentations, a podium for Evelyn, and a table displaying props Evelyn had brought along, models of satellites, a replica of the Hubble Space Telescope, and a fragment of a meteorite encased in glass. Evelyn stepped onto the stage. The room erupted into applause. Clara watched proudly from the front row, her heart swelling as her mom adjusted the microphone and began to speak. "Good morning, everyone," Evelyn said, her voice warm and inviting. "My name is Dr. Evelyn Carter, and I work at NASA. Before we dive in, I want to thank my daughter Clara for inviting me here today. She told me how curious you all are about space, and I'm thrilled to share some of the incredible things I get to do every day." The audience leaned forward, captivated. Evelyn launched into her presentation, starting with the basics of astrophysics and gradually moving into more complex topics. She explained how telescopes like Hubble allow scientists to peer billions of light years into the universe, capturing images of galaxies far beyond our own. She showed breathtaking photos of nebulae, supernovas, and distant planets, each slide drawing gasps of wonder from the crowd. Then came the part Clara loved most, Evelyn's personal story. She talked about her journey to NASA, describing the challenges she faced as a young woman entering a male-dominated field. "There were times when I doubted myself," Evelyn admitted. "But I kept going because I believed in the importance of what I was doing. Every discovery we make brings us closer to understanding our place in the universe, and that's something worth fighting for." She went on to describe her work designing satellites, emphasizing how these machines help monitor Earth's health. "Climate change is one of the biggest challenges we face today," she said. "Satellites like the one I helped build provide critical data that scientists use to track changes in our atmosphere, oceans, and forests. This information helps us find solutions to protect our planet, not just for us, but for future generations." To demonstrate, Evelyn played a short video showing satellite footage of melting glaciers and deforested areas. The images were sobering, but Evelyn ended on a hopeful note. "Science gives us the tools to solve problems," she said. "And the more young minds we inspire, the better equipped we'll be to tackle these challenges together." By the time Evelyn finished speaking, the room was silent except for the sound of pens scratching against notebooks as students jotted down questions. When she opened the floor for discussion, hands shot up like wildfire. "Do you ever get to go to space?" one student asked. "Not yet," Evelyn laughed. "But I've worked closely with astronauts, helping them prepare experiments that go aboard the International Space Station. Who knows? Maybe someday I'll get to join them." Another student raised their hand. "How do you deal with failure? Like, what happens if a satellite doesn't work?" "That's a great question," Evelyn replied. "Failure is part of science. Sometimes things don't go as planned, and that can be frustrating. But every failure teaches us something valuable. It pushes us to innovate, to try new approaches, and ultimately to succeed." Clara listened intently, marveling at how effortlessly her mom connected with the audience. Evelyn answered every question with patience and enthusiasm, never making anyone feel silly for asking. By the end of the Q&A session, the students were buzzing with excitement, many of them lining up afterward to thank Evelyn personally. As they packed up the props and headed home, Clara turned to her mom with a grin. "See? I told you they'd love you." Evelyn chuckled, wrapping an arm around Clara's shoulders. "They weren't the only ones who impressed me today. You handled yourself beautifully, Clara. I'm so proud of you." Clara beamed, feeling a sense of accomplishment wash over her. For the first time, she realized that sharing her truth wasn't just about proving others wrong. It was about opening doors to curiosity, to inspiration, and to dreams bigger than any one person could imagine alone. And as she climbed into the car beside her mom, she knew this was only the beginning of her own journey among the stars. The school auditorium buzzed with energy as Evelyn wrapped up her presentation. Students clapped enthusiastically, their faces glowing with admiration and curiosity. Clara sat in the front row, beaming with pride as she watched her classmates line up to ask questions or simply thank her mom for coming. It was a moment she had dreamed of but never fully imagined would feel so rewarding. Evelyn stayed on stage for nearly half an hour after her talk, answering every question patiently. Some students asked technical ones about satellites and telescopes, while others wanted to know what it felt like to work at NASA. One boy even shyly admitted he loved space, but didn't think he was smart enough to pursue a career in science. Evelyn knelt down to his level, smiling warmly. "You don't have to be the smartest person in the room to make a difference," she said. "What matters is your passion and willingness to learn. Science isn't just for geniuses, it's for dreamers." Her words lingered in the air, resonating deeply with everyone present. By the time Evelyn finally stepped off the stage, Clara could see how much her mom's visit had impacted her peers. The skepticism and teasing that once surrounded her were replaced by genuine respect and fascination. Several students approached, Clara afterward apologizing for doubting her earlier. "I'm sorry we laughed at you," one girl said sincerely. "Your mom is incredible. I had no idea she did all that stuff." Clara smiled, feeling a mix of relief and triumph. "It's okay," she replied. "I get why you didn't believe me before, but now you know." Later that afternoon, back at home, Clara couldn't stop talking about the assembly. She recounted every detail to her mom over dinner, from the standing ovation Evelyn received to the endless stream of questions from curious students. "Mom, you were amazing today," Clara gushed. "Everyone was so into it. Even Mr. Thompson said he learned new things." Evelyn chuckled, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. "Well, I'm glad they enjoyed it. But honestly, Clara, none of this would have happened without you. You're the one who convinced me to come." Clara shrugged modestly, though she secretly felt proud of herself. For years, she'd been hesitant to share details about her mom's job, fearing ridicule or disbelief. Now she realized that keeping quiet had only made her feel smaller. Speaking up, and proving her truth, had opened doors she hadn't known existed. As the weekend approached, Clara noticed a change in how her classmates treated her. They weren't just nicer. They seemed genuinely interested in getting to know her better. A group of girls invited her to join them for lunch, asking if she'd ever visited NASA headquarters. Others begged her to bring more photos or stories from her mom's work. Even the class clown, who usually spent recess making jokes, surprised her by saying, "Hey Clara, do you think your mom could teach us how to build rockets someday?" While Clara appreciated the newfound attention, she also felt a responsibility to use it wisely. Her mom had shown her that knowledge wasn't just something to hoard, it was meant to be shared. Inspired by this idea, Clara decided to take her passion for space exploration a step further. On Monday morning, she approached Mr. Thompson with an idea. "Mr. Thompson," she began nervously, clutching a notebook filled with sketches and notes. "What if we started a space club, like a group where kids can learn more about astronomy and maybe even build model rockets?" Mr. Thompson raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "A space club, huh? That sounds ambitious. Do you really think there's enough interest?" Clara nodded, eagerly. "Definitely. After my mom's visit, so many people were asking questions about space. I think they'd love having a chance to explore it more." Impressed by her enthusiasm, Mr. Thompson agreed to help her organize the club. Together, they drafted a proposal and presented it to the principal, who gave them the green light. Within days, flyers advertising the Stellar Explorers Club appeared around the school, inviting students to join weekly meetings focused on everything from stargazing to rocket design. The first meeting took place in the school library, where Clara stood nervously at the front of the room, waiting for attendees to arrive. To her delight, nearly 20 students showed up, including some who had teased her before. As they settled into chairs, Clara introduced herself and explained the purpose of the club. "So basically, this is a place where we can geek out about space together," she said, earning a few chuckles. "We'll start by learning about constellations and planets and then maybe move on to building our own rockets. My mom said she might even come back sometime to help us with experiments." The group erupted into excited chatter. One student suggested organizing a trip to a local planetarium, while another proposed hosting a stargazing night in the schoolyard. Clara listened intently, jotting down ideas in her notebook. For the first time, she felt like a leader, a role she'd never imagined herself playing. Over the next few weeks, the Stellar Explorers Club became a highlight of Clara's week. They studied star maps, built model rockets using recycled materials, and debated theories about extraterrestrial life. Mr. Thompson occasionally joined them, offering guidance and sharing fascinating facts about space history. Clara's confidence grew with each meeting, and she found herself looking forward to school more than ever before. One evening, as she worked on a project for the club, Clara reflected on how much her life had changed since that embarrassing day in science class. Back then, she'd felt invisible and misunderstood. Now she was surrounded by friends who shared her passions and encouraged her to dream bigger. Her mom's visit hadn't just proven her truth, it had inspired her to chase her own dreams. On a crisp autumn night, the Stellar Explorers Club held its first stargazing event. Armed with blankets, flashlights, and a telescope borrowed from the science department, the group gathered in the schoolyard under a sky glittering with stars. Clara pointed out constellations she'd memorized from her mom's books, explaining their stories and significance. When someone spotted a shooting star streaking across the horizon, the entire group erupted into cheers. As Clara lay back on her blanket, gazing up at the vast expanse above, she felt a profound sense of connection, not just to the universe, but to the people around her. These were her classmates, her friends, united by a shared wonder for the cosmos. And in that moment, she realized that her journey wasn't just about proving others wrong or gaining acceptance. It was about finding her place in the world and helping others find theirs too. Her mom's voice echoed in her mind. Sometimes people don't believe what they can't see. But Clara now understood that seeing wasn't always enough. Believing required courage, curiosity, and a willingness to reach beyond what felt safe or familiar. And as she stared up at the stars, she knew she was ready to keep reaching, for knowledge, for friendship, and for the infinite possibilities that lay ahead. The weeks following the Stellar Explorers Club's first stargazing event were nothing short of magical for Clara. The club quickly became a staple at school, drawing more students than anyone had anticipated. What started as a small group of curious classmates grew into a vibrant community of young space enthusiasts, each bringing their own unique energy and ideas to the table. Clara found herself at the center of it all, guiding discussions, leading experiments, and encouraging her peers to dream bigger. One afternoon during a club meeting, Clara stood at the front of the room with a model rocket in hand. "All right, team," she announced, her voice filled with excitement. "Today we're going to test our first prototype. If everything goes well, this little guy should fly at least 50 feet into the air." The room erupted into cheers. Over the past few weeks, the group had been working tirelessly on designing and building rockets using kits they'd purchased with funds raised from bake sales and donations. Each member had taken turns sanding fins, assembling nose cones, and painting designs onto the sleek bodies of their creations. For many of them, this was their first hands-on experience with engineering, and they couldn't wait to see the results. After setting up the launch pad outside on the school field, the group gathered around eagerly. Clara carefully placed the rocket onto the stand, double-checking its alignment before stepping back. With a countdown led by one of the members, 3, 2, 1, blast off, she pressed the ignition button. A burst of smoke shot out from the base of the rocket, propelling it high into the sky. Everyone cheered as it soared upward, leaving behind a trail of white vapor. When the parachute deployed and the rocket floated gently back down to Earth, the entire group ran to retrieve it, laughing and celebrating like astronauts returning from a successful mission. One boy picked it up triumphantly, holding it above his head. "We did it!" he shouted. "We actually built a rocket!" Clara grinned, feeling a surge of pride wash over her. She glanced around at her classmates, noticing how much closer they'd grown since the club began. These weren't just random kids anymore. They were friends, collaborators, and fellow dreamers. And it was all because of their shared love for space. But Clara's journey wasn't without challenges. As much as she enjoyed leading the club, there were moments when self-doubt crept in. Sometimes she worried that she wasn't smart enough or knowledgeable enough to guide such ambitious projects. After all, Most of what she knew about space came from her mom's stories and books, not formal training. What if someone asked a question she couldn't answer? Or worse, what if she made a mistake that ruined an experiment? One evening, after a particularly tough meeting where a rocket failed to launch due to a wiring error, Clara confided in her mom. "What if I'm not cut out for this?" she asked, slumping onto the couch. "I mean, everyone looks up to me now, but I don't even know half the stuff they think I do." Evelyn sat beside her, placing a comforting hand on her shoulder. "Clara, nobody expects you to have all the answers," she said gently. "Not even me. Being a leader isn't about knowing everything, it's about being willing to learn alongside others. When something doesn't work, you figure it out together. That's how science works." Clara nodded slowly, absorbing her mom's words. "But what if I mess up again?" "Then you'll fix it," Evelyn replied with a smile. "And guess what? Every time you solve a problem, you get smarter, and so does everyone else. That's how growth happens." Feeling reassured, Clara returned to the next club meeting with renewed determination. Instead of hiding her uncertainty, she embraced it, openly discussing the previous failure and inviting suggestions from the group. Together, they dissected the issue, identified the faulty wiring, and rebuilt the circuitry. When the repaired rocket launched successfully the following week, the sense of accomplishment was even sweeter because they'd overcome the challenge as a team. As the months passed, the Stellar Explorers Club continued to thrive. They organized field trips to observatories, hosted guest speakers from local universities, and even participated in a regional science fair. Clara took charge of preparing the group's entry, a detailed presentation on their rocket building process, complete with diagrams, data charts, and videos of their launches. Though nerves fluttered in her stomach on the day of the fair, she delivered the presentation confidently, earning praise from judges and attendees alike. Back at school, Clara's newfound confidence spilled over into other areas of her life. She began raising her hand more often in class, sharing her thoughts without fear of judgment. Teachers noticed her transformation, complimenting her curiosity and leadership skills. Even the students who had once teased her now sought her advice on projects or asked to join the club. It was as if her entire world had shifted, opening doors she hadn't known existed. One day after school, as Clara packed up her backpack, a familiar voice called out to her. Turning around, she saw Mr. Thompson standing in the doorway of the classroom. "Clara, can I talk to you for a moment?" he asked, gesturing for her to follow him. Curious, Clara trailed behind him to the faculty lounge where he handed her a brochure. "I thought you might be interested in this," he said with a proud smile. "It's a summer program for middle school students interested in STEM fields. They partner with NASA to offer workshops and mentorship opportunities. Given your passion for space, I think it could be perfect for you." Clara's eyes widened as she flipped through the colorful pages, reading about hands-on activities, lab tours, and chances to meet real scientists and engineers. Her heart raced with excitement, but also a flicker of doubt. "Do you really think I'd qualify?" she asked hesitantly. Mr. Thompson chuckled. "Clara, you've already proven yourself. Look at everything you've accomplished with the Stellar Explorers Club. You're exactly the kind of student they're looking for." Encouraged by his words, Clara decided to apply. With her mom's help, she crafted a heartfelt essay describing her journey, from the initial teasing in science class to the creation of the club and her growing interest in astrophysics. She poured her soul into every sentence, hoping to convey not just her achievements but her dreams for the future. A few weeks later, as Clara checked the mail with her mom, she spotted an envelope addressed to her. Her hands trembled as she opened, scanning the letter inside. "Mom," she whispered, tears welling up in her eyes. "I got in." Evelyn hugged her tightly, tears streaming down her own face. "I'm so proud of you, Clara. This is just the beginning." That night, as Clara lay in bed staring at the ceiling, she reflected on how far she'd come. From the shy girl who dreaded speaking up in class to the confident leader inspiring others, she had transformed in ways she never imagined possible. And while she knew there would still be challenges ahead, she felt ready to face them head-on. Her mom's visit to the school had sparked something extraordinary, not just in Clara, but in everyone who had witnessed it. By sharing her truth and embracing her passions, Clara had ignited a spark of curiosity in her classmates, proving that inspiration could come from the most unexpected places. As she drifted off to sleep, she dreamed of stars, rockets, and endless possibilities, knowing that her journey among the cosmos was only just beginning. The summer program turned out to be everything Clara had dreamed of, and more. Held at a university campus just a few hours away from home, it brought together students from across the country who shared her passion for science and space exploration. For 2 weeks, Clara immersed herself in workshops, lectures, and hands-on activities designed to push the boundaries of her knowledge and creativity. She built miniature satellites, programmed robotic rovers, and even participated in a simulated Mars mission. Each day felt like stepping into a new adventure. One morning, she found herself standing in front of a massive telescope, gazing at distant galaxies under the guidance of an astronomer. The next, she was coding algorithms to analyze data collected by real NASA missions. Every experience deepened her understanding of the universe and her place within it. But what made the program truly special wasn't just the science, it was the people. Clara met kids from all walks of life, each with their own unique story and perspective. There was Mia, a girl from Texas who wanted to design habitats for future lunar colonies, and Samir, a boy from Chicago obsessed with mapping asteroids. Together, they formed a tight-knit group, bonding over late-night conversations about black holes and hypothetical alien civilizations. One evening, as they sat around a campfire during a stargazing session, Mia turned to Clara and asked, "So how did you get into all this? Like, what made you want to study space?" Clara hesitated for a moment, then smiled. "Honestly, it started because of my mom. She works at NASA, and growing up, I always thought she was kind of like a superhero. But there was this one time in middle school when no one believed me when I said that. It was embarrassing, but it ended up being a turning point. My mom came to my school and gave this amazing presentation, and after that, everything changed. Not just for me, but for my whole class." Samir nodded thoughtfully. "That's really cool. I bet your mom inspired a lot of people." "She did," Clara replied, her voice soft but filled with pride. "And now I guess I'm trying to do the same thing, just on a smaller scale." Her words lingered in the air, sparking a lively discussion about the importance of role models in science. As the fire crackled and the stars twinkled above, Clara realized how much she'd grown since those early days of feeling invisible. She wasn't just following in her mom's footsteps anymore. She was forging her own path, lighting the way for others along the journey. When the program ended, Clara returned home brimming with ideas and inspiration. She couldn't wait to share everything she'd learned with the Stellar Explorers Club. The first meeting of the new school year was electric, with Clara recounting stories from the summer and introducing concepts she'd picked up like orbital, mechanics, and spectroscopy. Her classmates listened intently, their eyes wide with wonder. "Okay, here's the big news," Clara announced toward the end of the meeting. "I've been thinking, we should enter a national rocketry competition. It's going to be tough, but if we work hard, I think we can do it." The room erupted into excited chatter. Some students immediately began brainstorming designs while others volunteered to research rules and guidelines. Clara watched them with a sense of awe, marveling at how far they'd come since the club's humble beginnings. These weren't just classmates anymore. They were teammates, collaborators, and friends. Over the next several months, the Stellar Explorers poured their hearts into preparing for the competition. They spent countless hours designing, testing, and refining their rocket, often staying late after school or meeting on weekends. Clara took charge of organizing tasks and keeping everyone motivated, reminding them that setbacks were part of the process. When their second prototype failed to reach the required altitude during a test launch, she rallied the group saying, "This is exactly why we're doing this, to learn and improve. Let's figure out what went wrong and make it better." By the time the competition arrived, the team was ready. Traveling to the event site, a sprawling field filled with teams from schools across the country, they set up their equipment with nervous anticipation. As they prepared for their turn to launch, Clara gathered her teammates in a huddle. "No matter what happens today," she said, her voice steady, "we've already won. We worked together, solved problems, and pushed ourselves farther than any of us thought possible. That's what matters most." Their rocket soared flawlessly, reaching the target altitude and deploying its parachute with precision. Though they didn't take home the top prize, the judges praised their innovative design and teamwork. As they stood together holding their second-place trophy, Clara felt a surge of pride, not just in their achievement but in the bonds they'd formed. In the years that followed, Clara's love for space only grew stronger. She continued leading the Stellar Explorers Club, mentoring younger students and encouraging them to pursue their dreams. Many of her teammates went on to excel in STEM fields, crediting the club for sparking their interest. One even joked, "If it weren't for Clara, I'd probably still think rockets were boring." As for Clara, she remained determined to follow in her mom's footsteps. In high school, she excelled in physics and math, earning scholarships to attend a prestigious university known for its aerospace engineering program. On move-in day, as she unpacked her belongings in her dorm room, she noticed a framed photo of her mom standing beside a rocket at the Kennedy Space Center. Smiling, she placed it on her desk, a reminder of where her journey had begun. Years later, as a young engineer working on cutting-edge satellite technology, Clara often reflected on the twists and turns that had led her here. She remembered the laughter in her middle school classroom, the pride in her mom's eyes, and the spark of curiosity that had ignited within her classmates. Most importantly, she remembered the lesson her mom had taught her. Sometimes, proving, your truth isn't about silencing doubters, it's about inspiring believers. One evening, as Clara gazed out the window of her office at the glowing lights of the city below, she thought about the future. Someday she hoped to stand on stage like her mom had, sharing her work with eager young minds. Until then, she vowed to keep reaching for the stars, knowing that every step forward brought her closer to fulfilling not just her own dreams, but the dreams of those she inspired along the way.